Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of Unlocking Medicare with Tyrone Carr, your host, Tyrone Carr. Today's episode, we're going to talk about decoding the acronyms of Medicare. So there's a lot of confusion out there as far as what's the annual election period. I hear the open enrollment period. What's the general election period? So I want you to understand if you're somebody who's either aging into Medicare or if you're somebody that's been on Medicare for a number of years, and just to help you to better understand. So we want to provide you that education today so that way you are informed, you're educated and empowered to make an informed decision. So first acronym we want to talk about is IEP. Stands for Initial Election Period. So what's initial election period? Initial election period is when you are going to Medicare for the very first time, whether you're someone who's turning 65 or if you're someone who's deferred Medicare and you're now decided to retire at the age of 70. So the initial election period is 3 months, or I should say technically, actually 6 months prior to the effective date of Part B. The reason why I say 6 months is because a lot of the insurance carriers will allow you to submit an application for enrollment for a future effective date 6 months in advance without having to medically qualify. The initial election period also continues the month in which your Part B begins, so whether it's the month in which you turn 65 or if it's the month in which your Medicare Part B is starting 5 years down the road and you've elected to retire at age 70 or 75. And then it's 6 months from the month following the month in which your Part B begins. So during this time frame, you can choose any Medicare supplemental insurance, also known as a Medigap policy, and you don't have to medically qualify. So that's your initial election period. Now, you have the AEP, which a lot of people get this wrong, and this is the Annual Election Period. Now, this is the acronym that most people are familiar with, but they still get it wrong. This is between October 15th through December 7th. AEP, Annual Election Period. This is the time frame each and every single year that a person who is actively on Medicare can make a change between their drug plan, a Medicare Advantage policy, or if there's someone that's currently on a Medigap policy and they want to transition from a Medigap policy into a Medicare Advantage policy, or from another Medicare Advantage policy over to another Medicare Advantage policy. Or if you have someone who's been on Medicare for a number of years, they have a Medicare Advantage policy and they want to go back to original Medicare and see if they can medically qualify for a Medigap policy, they can do it during this time frame, the annual election period. Now, the third acronym is OEP, which stands for Open Enrollment Period. Now, we're not talking open enrollment period for people that are under age 65 and you're having to make a decision on an individual policy and you're not of Medicare age. This is the open enrollment period for Medicare. This period is between January 1st through March 31st. What applies here is if you're somebody who's actively on a Medicare Advantage policy, maybe you met an agent or you spoke to an insurance carrier over the phone, they convinced you to enroll into a plan, and maybe during this time period, the open enrollment period, you've learned that that Advantage plan wasn't really the best plan for you. What the government allows you to do is during this period is you can make a one-time change from one Medicare Advantage policy over to another carrier or plan. Or maybe another example would be you're someone that has transitioned from a Medigap policy over into a Medicare Advantage policy. Now you're kind of maybe regretting, or you have that remorse that you've chosen maybe the wrong type of plan. You say, I wish I just would have kept that Medigap policy. You can actually opt out of that Medicare Advantage policy, go back to original Medicare and into a Medigap policy. So that's what an open enrollment period actually is. Now the fourth acronym we're going to talk about is GEP, General Election Period. Sorry for my scribble, but the general election period is January 1st through March 31st. Now, this general election period would apply to individuals that elected not to take Medicare at the early age of 65. So they just said, for whatever reason it may be, I don't need to take Medicare Part A or Part B. I don't want to pay for Medicare Part B. But now they've come to the realization, either talking to a friend, talking to a professional, the Social Security's office, Medicare, the importance of having Medicare as your primary and how financially catastrophic it could be if you don't have Medicare. So now this person's decided, hey, I want to enroll into Medicare Part A and Part B. What are my next steps? Well, first of all, you have to wait till January 1st to enroll into Medicare Part A and Part B. Just because you enrolled into it January 1st doesn't mean it's going to start the first day of the next month or even the next day. It wouldn't begin until July 1st of that year. So again, this general election period is reflective of those people that have decided not to take Medicare Part A and Part B. Now, with that, you're going to have a penalty situation that's going to apply. But we'll talk about that at a later time and date, another episode. Thank you for watching this episode of Unlocking Medicare with Tyrone Carr, your host, Tyrone Carr. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to you watching our next episode, Unlocking Medicare with Tyrone Carr. Thank you. Thank you for checking our podcast today. We appreciate you. And please check out our website. We have future dates and times for our Medicare 101 seminars throughout the Metro Detroit area. So please check us out. Come meet us in person. Look forward to meeting you in person. And again, tune into our next week's podcast as we dive deeper into Medicare. Thank you. Have a great day.